Somaliland's democratization process had a especially remarkable year in 2010. This is of special significance since, due to intense political tension, the preceding 3 years posed serious threats to the stability of this country. Outside the political actors, the role of various civilian stakeholders has been either absent or downright polarizing. From June 3rd to the 24th, a very colorful and vibrant campaign was undertaken, the likes of which this country has never seen. Then came June 26th, a defining day in the history of this country as it marked both the country's 50th anniversary as well as its second presidential election since independence from Somalia in 1991. Exactly 7 days later, on July 1st, the results of the elections were announced. Putting the fears of many among the jubilant to rest, the outgoing president, Mr. Dahir Rayale, immediately accepted the results of the elections and congratulated the president-elect. Despite the triumphant year the country had in 2010, the country's democratization process and ultimately its stability still faces numerous challenges that need to be addressed. This film and its associated pillar note is chiefly a product of countrywide extensive public consultations. The field trips for these public discussions were carried out by a group of researchers from APD during the months of June and July 2009 and in January and February of 2010. During the pillar mapping, which covered all 6 regions of the country, a series of discussions and interviews were held with groups and individuals representing the central, regional, and local levels. In addition, representatives from all sections of the society were brought together to articulate their diverse views. Special efforts were made to solicit the views of women, youth, and other marginalized groups on these issues.
When you consider our short history and our lack of international recognition, as well as the fact that we are still a collection of diverse clans forging a system together, and the numerous elections held so far, I would say our democracy is in progress.
This rationale and the recent peaceful and largely transparent presidential elections that led to the country's first transfer of power between 2 popularly elected presidents says a great deal about the state of Somaliland's democracy.
We have a government of our own in place, our own flag. From our government we receive social, health and security services. We live in peace, our children go to schools, we have employment, we have a democracy. If there was no democracy in Somaliland, our political parties wouldn't be approaching us for votes.
For many, however, the preceding 2 years of recurrent political disagreements and confrontations between Somaliland's political leaders over the electoral process convey a more revealing picture about the state of this country's democratization process. The electoral process, which is normally an important benchmark of a democratic system, has been an open-ended dilemma in Somaliland.
We don't fully understand the democracy that we so openly talk about. If a society doesn't understand the sort of system it's adopting, people are easily misled. So before we go off claiming to have adopted a democratic system, let's first understand the requirements of this process.
For many, the clan system is a structure of enormous importance.
Our traditional clan-based system brought to an end many conflicts that took place here, 7 conflicts to be exact, which even the United Nations could not have solved. We have had our clan-based system ever since God created us. We had our traditional tree under which we solved all sorts of conflicts. Nothing went wrong under this system. We would fight against one another, then immediately reconcile. We never had democracy as a means to resolve our conflicts.
Despite the fact clan chauvinism has made the transition from clan-based power sharing to a multi-party system, a complex political challenge that threatens the enduring peace and stability.
Democracy and clanism cannot go together. They are absolutely incompatible. But since we are still a largely nomadic society, clannish mentality continues to dominate our behavior. That's why we are so quick to stand up for our respective clans. It all goes against democracy.
This, as well as other concerns, oftentimes expose the deficiencies in the country's current political leadership as well as its governmental institutions.
Traditionally, only the elder had the final decision of the clan. This is one of the ways in which our traditional system seems to be a challenge to democracy. Our government still employs the colonial approach to governing this society. Our Ministry of Interior, for example, uses titled elders to liaise between the public and the government. I don't know what their problem is. If we are such a clan society, then why are we electing Riale and not Silanyo? This is absurd. That guy sitting across from me and I are of the same lineage, and he is voting for Riale. If we are such nepotists, why isn't he giving us the vote? Is that not real democracy? Of course it is. Let's not rush here. Everything's going on quite well.
While patience is a virtue worth striving for, many citizens believe that there's no room for complacency as Somaliland's electoral process is far from over.
The public doesn't have the necessary awareness on the full meaning of electing and being elected.
The recent successful presidential election is part of an election cycle that includes a local council election, which is already 3 years overdue.
Even developed and richer countries combine their elections when needed. Our parliamentary election is due in 6 months, while the mandate of our current local councillors has already expired. The presidential election is on the 26th of June. This is all backwards.
The current voter registration played an instrumental role in this part of the cycle. The disagreements over its validity and applicability are, however, expected to resurface before the next elections.
First of all, it was a mistake for us to have taken on this task like this. We should have had comprehensive discussions about it first, with all members of the society taking part.
We all know what happened and what the public was being told during the first phase of the voter registration. They were told that there was a ballot box for them to go and cast their votes. It wasn't an election. And we all fully know how the clans were being mobilized against one another the second time around. It was all about the clan. What sort of democracy are we talking about here then?
A reliable census, delimitation of constituency, and the lack of an official national identity are just some of the essential instruments posing serious challenges to conducting credible voter registration in Somaliland. The Constitution is in any context a fundamental document that serves as the ultimate instrument to resolve all disputes concerning the conduct of free, fair, and legitimate elections. While the Somaliland Constitution does outline the fundamental rights and freedoms for free and fair multi-party elections, it has periodically been an outright hindrance to the electoral process.
Governments draft and endorse a constitution, not communities in conflict. The constitution we adopted in 1997 was drafted in conflict. Do you remember at the Hargeisa conference in which it was given a 3-minute discussion period? This is a dark chapter in